If you think you know the story of Apple versus Microsoft, you're probably wrong. There's the official history, the one fed to us for decades, about turtlenecks and window panes, visionaries and pragmatists. It's a great story, but it's not the real story.
Good morning.
By the 2010s, that story was supposedly over. The war was done. Apple had won a crushing victory. Under the cool operational hand of Tim Cook, they became the most powerful, most profitable, and the most admired company on earth. They were untouchable. Microsoft? They were a joke, a dinosaur. They had catastrophically missed the mobile revolution. Their lost decade was filled with bad products and worse strategy. They were irrelevant. But while the world was hypnotized by Apple's shine, something else was happening behind closed doors in Redmond, Washington. A secret history was being written. A new kind of war was being waged. One fought not like a chaotic street fight, but like a grandmaster's chess match where every move was planned a decade in advance. And now, in 2025, the winner of that strategic war is becoming terrifyingly clear. And it's the one company everyone had already written off. The seeds of Apple's current crisis weren't planted last year. They were planted a decade ago, right at the peak of its success. And the diagnosis has a name journalists and academics whisper about: the innovator's dilemma. Think of it like this. Imagine a restaurant that makes the most popular pepperoni pizza in the world. They sell millions. Everyone loves them. So what do? They spend all their time perfecting that one pizza, making the cheese meltier and the crust crunchier. But while they're busy being the world's best pizza shop, a new taco truck opens up across the street, and suddenly everyone decides they want tacos. The pizza place did nothing wrong, but they were so busy perfecting their one-hit product that they completely missed what was coming next. That, simply, is the innovator's dilemma. In chess terms, it's like a player who is so obsessed with protecting their powerful queen that they refuse to move their other pieces. They've become predictable, defensive, and vulnerable to an opponent who is developing their entire board. It's tragic, really, watching brilliance become paralysis. And here's a great irony. The one person who understood this trap better than anyone was Steve Jobs himself. He was reportedly obsessed with this very concept, knowing that a company had to be willing to build the taco truck even if it hurt its own pizza sales. You could say Apple has fallen into the very trap its iconic founder feared was waiting for them in his absence. And the proof of this defensive mindset is right there on the board. Instead of launching a new coordinated attack, Apple's moves over the past decade have been small, safe, and close to home. Take the Apple Watch. It's a hit, sure, but what is it? It was never the next platform. It's a great accessory, an extension of the iPhone you already own, and now the magic is wearing off. In 2024, shipments fell by a shocking 19% year over year. Then there's the much-hyped Apple Vision Pro, Apple's next big thing, right? Technologically impressive, sure, but at $3,500, it's an elite fantasy. One reviewer bluntly said, "It feels like the solution to a problem no one has." Harsh, yet undeniably accurate. Honestly, it's frustrating. With Apple's talent, they should have done better. But maybe I'm being too harsh. Do you think the Vision Pro could still become a big success, or is it already doomed? Let me know your take below. Now, to be fair, it's not like Apple's engineers were sleeping for a decade. The company has had some monumental wins. Their pivot to making their own computer chips, the M1, M2, and M3 series, was a masterstroke of engineering that left the PC world in the dust. They've also become a genuine leader in user privacy, a stance that resonates deeply with their customers, and their services division has exploded, becoming a financial powerhouse in its own right. But, and this is a crucial but, These are brilliant successes in the old game. They are moves that perfected the existing paradigm of personal computing. They did not, however, prepare them for the new game that was about to begin. To understand why Apple's next blunder is so critical, we first have to understand why AI isn't just another feature. It's the next great computing platform. For the last 20 years, the game has been about apps. You want to order food? You open the DoorDash app. You want a ride? You open the Uber app. But what happens when the app disappears altogether? That's what AI promises. No more hunting through icons. It's a single, intelligent assistant that knows you. You won't open an app. You'll simply ask, "Get me a large pepperoni pizza and an Uber to the airport." Your AI assistant will know your favorite pizza place, have your credit card on file, and execute all the tasks in the background. It's a fundamental shift, and the company that owns that assistant, that platform, owns the future. This is a prize that Apple took its eye off. In chess, the game is won by controlling the center. In the new game of technology, AI is the center of the board, and Apple inexplicably ignored it. This AI fumble truly reveals how far they've fallen behind. In the world of AI, the clock is ticking, and it's ticking fast. Every quarter that Siri remains a punchline is a quarter where Microsoft's Copilot becomes more deeply entrenched in the global economy. Apple isn't just behind. They are losing time they can never get back. It's genuinely surprising, and more than a little disappointing, to see a company renowned for innovation fail so badly at AI. And if you needed any more proof, look no further than their big worldwide developers conference in June 2025. What was their big answer to this existential AI threat? Some nice but small new features, like an AI workout buddy? It's just polish to an existing product. But the revolutionary new Siri everyone was waiting for, the one they promised last year, Apple's own executives had to admit on stage that it needs more time. This is no longer just a fumble. It's a persistent, multi-year failure to compete on the most important technological front. Siri is so far behind that Apple had to swallow its pride and partner with OpenAI to integrate ChatGPT just to stay relevant. A stunning admission that they couldn't build it themselves. Apple isn't just late to the party. They're still stuck in traffic, hoping no one notices they're not there. Apple was trapped, caught in a golden cage of its own success. But how exactly did Microsoft capitalize on this vulnerability? The answer wasn't flashy, it was quiet and strategic. Let's pull back the curtain. A grandmaster doesn't always start with a dramatic attack. Sometimes, the most powerful move is a quiet one that changes the nature of the game itself. And that move was the cloud. Satya Nadella took over Microsoft in 2014. What did he inherit? A toxic mess. But Nadella didn't just plan to fix it. He aimed higher, a cultural revolution transforming Microsoft from know-it-all to learn-it-all powerhouse. Nadella captured this perfectly. Our industry does not respect tradition, it only respects innovation. Watching Microsoft revival felt like seeing a phoenix rise from ashes, unexpected and thrilling. His vision was about empathy, collaboration, and, in a move that shocked the industry, partnerships with his oldest enemies. This wasn't just corporate PR, it was a declaration of a new chess game. Nadella's first move on this new chessboard wasn't flashy, it was foundational, and almost no one outside of Redmond understood its true significance at the time. He bet the entire company on the cloud, going all in on Azure. Nadella understood that the cloud was a new operating system for the entire planet. Think of the cloud as the digital backbone connecting every business, app, and device. Everything from streaming Netflix to online banking runs on the cloud. It was the foundational layer on which the AI revolution would be built. And the growth was explosive. In early 2025, Azure was growing at a staggering 33% year over year. But the cloud was just the first domino. Next, Microsoft revealed an even bolder move. What was the secret weapon? Let's find out. With its foundation secure, Microsoft unveiled its killer app, artificial intelligence. They didn't just dabble, they weaponized AI. Through a multi-billion-dollar partnership with OpenAI, creators of ChatGPT, they made a transformative move. But here's the genius part. It wasn't just an investment. They wove OpenAI's brain directly into Microsoft 365 Copilot. Simply put, Microsoft 365 Copilot is like ChatGPT built right into your Word documents, Excel sheets, and PowerPoint slides. It's like having your own smart assistant at your desk. It's a paradigm shift, and the adoption has been explosive. The next move reveals a stark difference in philosophy. It's simple. Apple buys bricks to fortify its castle, safe and conservative. Microsoft buys armies to conquer new empires, bold and ambitious. Apple's strategy is best seen in their largest acquisition ever, Beats Electronics for just $3 billion. It was a good move, but a contained one. They bought a popular product and talent to jumpstart Apple Music. It was a brick that made the walls of their existing kingdom a little higher, a little stronger. Microsoft acquisitions play a completely different game. They weren't buying bricks, they were buying armies instead. Let's start with their $26 billion purchase of LinkedIn in 2016. On the surface, a social network, but strategically, it was the ultimate data play. Microsoft didn't just buy a website, they bought the definitive map of the entire global professional workforce, who works where, who knows whom, and what skills they have. Then came the $7.5 billion deal for GitHub, the heart of the open source community. This wasn't just about buying a platform, it was about winning the loyalty of the new kingmakers, developers. By owning the place where the world builds software, Microsoft positioned itself at the absolute center of the development universe, ready to inject its AI tools like Copilot directly into their workflow. But both of those were just appetizers when compared to the $75 billion acquisition of gaming titan Activision Blizzard. Critics who think this is just about video games are missing the point entirely. This is a frontal assault on the future of consumer attention. It's a massive content library, a direct-to-consumer pipeline that bypasses app stores. Yet, Microsoft's boldest move wasn't about conquering territory, it was about opening doors. Curious what changed? Let's dive in. The fourth move was a move that required killing the company's old identity, Nadella's radical pivot to openness. To understand how shocking this is, you have to remember the old Microsoft. This was a company whose former CEO famously called the open source software Linux a cancer. Under Nadella, that philosophy was purged. He declared Microsoft loves Linux. They became one of the world's biggest contributors to open source projects and bought GitHub, the heart of the open source community. If you're wondering what open source means, it's simply software created publicly, anyone can see, use, and improve it. GitHub is a central place where millions of developers collaborate on this kind of software. It was a charm offensive that rebuilt trust with the developers they needed for the AI war. Contrast that with Apple's famously closed walled garden and the infamous green bubble war. For years, Apple deliberately made texting between iPhones and Android phones a terrible experience by refusing to adopt the modern standard, RCS. If you're not familiar, RCS is just a newer texting standard that lets Android and iPhone users send messages smoothly, like iMessage, but universal. Apple said no to keep Android users isolated. They did it to create social pressure, to make Android users feel like outcasts. all to protect their iMessage lock-in. It left a bitter taste, a tactic that felt beneath a company of Apple's stature. Now, after years of this and facing immense pressure, we are seeing the first tiny cracks in that garden wall. At their 2025 conference, Apple finally announced it would give developers direct access to its on-device AI models. It's a step, but let's be clear about what it is. A small concession made from a position of weakness. Apple is finally throwing developers a bone. Microsoft gave them the whole kingdom years ago via GitHub. The final move is the most important because the most valuable resource in the 21st century isn't oil or data, it's brains. The winner of the AI revolution will be the one who wins the war for talent, and right now, Apple is losing. The culture of secrecy is toxic to researchers who need to collaborate openly, and their rigid return-to-office policy was reportedly the direct reason Ian Goodfellow, their own director of machine learning, publicly resigned in 2022. Goodfellow was one of Apple's top artificial intelligence leaders, one of the smartest AI researchers in the world, and this departure took a toll on the morale of the company. Now consider this. If you were a top AI engineer, what would you choose? Apple's secrecy and walled garden, or Microsoft's openness and collaboration? Comment your choice below. When you pull back, the secret history of the last decade reveals a clash of two fundamentally different philosophies. Tim Cook's Apple focused on operational excellence, precision, discipline. Cook famously wakes up at 4 a.m., meticulously checking global sales, capturing his methodical style. He mastered the art of taking something perfect and scaling it flawlessly. Satya Nadella's Microsoft has been about transformational vision and risk-taking. He inherited a dying giant and dared to rewrite its entire future. It makes you wonder what the ghost of Steve Jobs would think. The man who built the world's most valuable company on the elegant integration of hardware and software, now watching his creation get outmaneuvered in an era where the open, invisible platform is king. And that leads to the final, brutal verdict. In the era of the smartphone, the company with the most perfect closed system won. That was Apple. But the coming era of artificial intelligence plays by different rules. In this new game, the winner will be the company that builds the most powerful and open platform for everyone else to build on. Microsoft with Azure as a global AI supercomputer, with Copilot as the intelligent fabric of work, with GitHub as its connection to the world's developers, has relentlessly built that platform. Apple, with its focus on devices and its walled garden philosophy, is now in serious trouble. The very strategy that made it invincible has become its greatest vulnerability. The future that Microsoft has been building for a decade isn't coming in 5 years. It's already here. The real question is, how long can Apple afford to keep living in the past? Because while Apple perfected the last chapter of technology, Microsoft is already halfway through writing the next one. Thanks for digging into the secret history with me. It's a stark reminder that in the brutal world of tech, no king reigns forever. If there's another company whose hidden strategy you want me to investigate, drop their name in the comments. Until next time, stay sharp.